Hey, what is up guys? My name is Oleg. This is Mr. Bond. Welcome back to the channel. Some watches people love to hate. Other watches people love to love. I think Seiko SARB033 is one of those watches that everybody seems to love. The watch came out in 2008 and it was officially discontinued in 2018, although you can still buy them brand new on eBay and Amazon. So I wanted to do this review now at the end of 2019 and see how good the watch is really comparing to modern watches. The way I'm going to do this video is in two parts. The first part is going to be a watch review just like any other watch review, and the second part I'm going to talk about my thoughts on this watch in 2019 and how well it stacks up against competition from other watch brands as well as micro brands. So let's get started with the review. Let's talk about the case dimensions first. So the watch has a 38mm diameter, it's 44mm from one lug to another, it has a lug opening of 20mm, and it's only 12mm thick. Here's what the watch looks like on my 7.5-inch wrist. I really like this fit. I stated in countless videos before that diameter of 39, 38, 40mm for my preferences, for my size of a wrist, is ideal. I really love how slender this watch is. It's very close to the wrist because it's only 12mm, so really like the fit of this one. However, if you have larger wrists, I understand if you're not so thrilled about that 38mm diameter because it's not for everyone, it's not to everyone's preference. The watch has an all stainless steel case and it comes on a stainless steel bracelet. We'll talk about a bracelet in a minute here or so. Let's first talk about the case finish. I think for the most part the case finish is excellent. It's not outstanding, it's not perfect, but it is excellent for the money. So it has this brushed finish on top and polished finish on the sides of the case as well as on the bezel. The transitions between polished and brushed are done really well. If you look at the case shape, it curves in to give a better fit on the wrist. I also like that stepped finish on the lugs. It looks like the brushed portion of the case is on a different layer, on a different level almost to the polished portion. At the 3 o'clock position we have a signed crown. It's a push-pull style crown, so it's not a screw-down crown, even though the watch still has 100 meters of water resistance. The crown is okay. I find that there is a bit of a weird gap between the case and the crown. Some might argue that gap is designed to make pulling out the crown easier. I would argue that have that gap on the back of the crown, but not in the front of the case. It kind of looks off and almost cheapens the look of the watch. While we're complaining about things, let's talk about the crystal. So first of all, it is a sapphire crystal on a Seiko. Very surprising, but it is a sapphire crystal. However, they didn't put any AR coating underneath the crystal. And some people might like that because it makes the watch shinier. However, I think it's not very practical. In certain lighting conditions, it makes reading the time very difficult. There are aftermarket options. You can easily replace this crystal, but I do wish it came with some AR coating. Even though the crystal doesn't have any AR coating, I still really like how this one looks. There isn't much of a gap between the crystal and the case, and it's a nice flat piece of sapphire. Looking at the case back of the watch, we see the screw-down case back with the display window. I really do appreciate that because if you look at a different SARB watch like an Alpinist, that one is a beautiful watch, but it doesn't have a display window, it doesn't have a nice engraving on the case back, so I do appreciate them putting a display window on this case back. However, it's not a sapphire window, it is hardlex. Not a big deal to most people, however, if you tend to leave your watch like this, eventually the clasp will scratch that hardlex crystal, so just word of caution, be careful with how you leave your watch on the desk. The display window is displaying the movement of the watch, of course, and this one is powered by the Seiko Caliber 6R15 movement. It has 23 joules, beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour, has 50 hours of power reserve, it's hackable, hand-windable, and it has a date complication. Now, some controversy around this movement. I happen to have pretty good experience with them. However, if you log into any Seiko forum or any discussion board about Seiko watches, Seiko movements, a lot of people seem to have bad experiences with their movements. I think there is a little bit of luck involved with the accuracy of these 6R movements. You might get lucky or you might be unlucky with yours. Nevertheless, it is a workhorse movement that's easy and cheap to service. Now let's talk about something that's a negative. Moving from a positive, that's the movement, to a biggest negative for me personally, that's the bracelet. I'm a bracelet guy. I like watches on bracelets. And this one is not a very good bracelet. Now, if you owned a bunch of Seikos in the past, you know that they are known for the poor quality of their bracelets. This one is not awful, but it does leave a lot to be desired. First, the positives. It is a full stainless steel bracelet with solid end links, solid links, and a proper engineered clasp with double pushers for release. That's all really good. The bracelet is not too jingly. It has a little bit of that, but it's not too bad comparing to some other Seiko bracelets. However, there are still a few negatives that I have. Number one, the weird gaps in the bracelet. There is a weird gap separation between the first link on the bracelet and the rest of the bracelet by the lugs. Kind of looks weird, kind of looks odd. I guess it's meant to have a better fit because there's no protruding first link. However, it does look very strange. The second weird gap on the bracelet is by the clasp. Maybe it's designed for comfort, maybe poor engineering just cheapens the look of this bracelet. A couple more small negatives. It only has push style pins, so the pins are not screwed in, and it only has 2 micro adjustments, so you better hope you can size it correctly for your wrist. The dial is a deep black dial with applied indices, these batons for hour marks. It also has a minute or second running track. Quite like that look. I think the watch is very simple in its design. Some people might say it's boring. So having that chaptering, having that minute running track adds a little bit of an interesting element to the watch. We also have a date at the 3 o'clock position. The date window integration is excellent. I like that little border around the date window. The date wheel color matches the color of the dial, so all of that is done really well. We have Seiko written by the 12 o'clock position and automatic 23 joules closer to the 6 o'clock position. I really love the set of hands on this watch. The needle seconds hand, the Dauphine style minute and hour hands, they just add so much depth and make the watch seem like it's a much higher tier watch than it actually is. So really well done with this set of hands. And actually the hands and the dial have pretty good lume. Here's a lume shot for you. The lume is great for an everyday watch like this. So with all of that being said, what do I think about this watch? I love it. Sure, the bracelet has some problems, but I think the problems with the bracelet are so evident because the watch itself is of such great quality. In a lesser watch, these problems wouldn't jump out as much, but because the rest of the watch is so good, you want the bracelet to kind of match that quality, and unfortunately, right now, it does not. When it came out in 2008, it represented great value for money. 11 years later, now that it's been discontinued, I think it still stacks up really well against the competition. This watch was never designed to compete with micro brands. I think the intention behind this watch was to compete with entry-level Swiss watches like Hamilton, like Tissot, like Longines. And to this day, this watch does just that. But it does more than that, because we can't ignore the fact that micro brands exist in today's world. Fortunately, most of the micro brands seem to be focused more on diver style watches and not so much on everyday type watches, because I think divers just sell better. So even in today's world, there aren't too many watches like this. 38 millimeters, slim profile at only 12 millimeters, great reliable movement, sapphire crystal, timeless design. Some might say boring, I say classic. Yeah, this watch, even in today's world, is still hard to beat. And sure, the prices have gone up since the watch was discontinued, but I think Still, they are reasonably priced. Today, you can pick them up on eBay and Amazon for under $500 US. In fact, I've seen some for under $400 US. In my opinion, that's hell of a deal for a watch like this. I appreciate you watching this video until the end. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this review. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. And of course, leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about Seiko SARB033. Is it a boring watch? Do you have one in your collection? Are you planning to get one? Leave all those thoughts below. I always enjoy reading your comments. By the way, today on my wrist, I'm wearing Rolex Explorer. Very similar watch actually to the Seiko SARB. So I think I'm gonna do a side-by-side comparison and kind of point out some of the differences between the two watches. I haven't done the review of the Explorer yet. However, I do have a story and my experience of buying this watch at the AD. I will leave a link to that video in the description below. Also, in the description below, there is a secret link. Have a look if you're curious. Before I go, I just want to say a huge thank you to Vishal, a friend of mine and a supporter of the channel, for lending this watch in for the review. Huge thank you. If you guys don't mind, leave a thank you to him in the comment section below. Thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Hey Bond, do you wanna go film a video? Do you want snacks? Do you want broccoli?